The first look, what we think we know. When we first hear the phrase, women who can't stay loyal, many of us picture the same thing. A woman who's constantly chasing attention, jumping from one relationship to another, or maybe keeping secrets behind her partner's back. But the truth is, loyalty isn't always about the act of cheating. It's about commitment, honesty, and emotional consistency. It's about showing up for the person we promise to love, even when the spark fades or the arguments get louder. Still, it's interesting how quickly society labels women who struggle with loyalty. When a man cheats, people often say, well, that's just how some men are. But when a woman cheats, she's called unfaithful, heartless, or even broken. The double standard runs deep. Yet behind those labels are real people, with real emotions, and very often complicated reasons for why loyalty slips away. We tend to focus only on the visible act of disloyalty, the messages, the lies, the betrayal, but not what led to it. Maybe she felt unseen, unheard, or emotionally disconnected. Maybe the relationship had already ended emotionally, long before it ended physically. And maybe, just maybe, what we call disloyalty is actually the symptom of something much deeper that was never addressed. What the numbers say and what they don't. Let's bring in some reality. According to studies by the Institute for Family Studies, about 20% of married men admit to cheating, compared to roughly 13% of married women. So yes, men statistically cheat more. But here's where it gets interesting. The gap is closing, especially among younger generations. Modern surveys show that women under 30 report cheating at rates closer to men's than ever before. Now, does that mean women are becoming less loyal? Not necessarily. It might mean that women today feel less trapped in unhappy or emotionally dead relationships. Decades ago, women often stayed because society expected them to, even if love or respect had disappeared. Today, more women are prioritizing emotional connection and personal fulfillment. And when those things vanish, some make choices that reflect that need, even if it leads them down a path they later regret. So while the numbers may look alarming, they actually reflect a social shift, not necessarily a moral one. People, both men and women, are beginning to act on unmet needs rather than suppressing them. And though that doesn't justify cheating, it helps explain why loyalty sometimes cracks in the modern world. Why loyalty starts to slip. We've all heard the saying, people don't cheat because they find someone better, they cheat because they stop feeling valued. And honestly, there's a lot of truth in that. Many women who struggle with loyalty aren't chasing excitement or attention just for fun. They're chasing a feeling they've lost, appreciation, validation, or connection. When emotional intimacy fades in a relationship, it creates space for doubt. Maybe her partner stopped communicating. Maybe affection disappeared. Maybe she felt like she was living with a stranger. Over time, loneliness can sneak in, even when two people share the same home. And when another person comes along who listens, compliments, or simply makes her feel seen again, it can blur the lines. But it's not just about the relationship. Sometimes the struggle with loyalty starts within. Some women carry old wounds, maybe from past relationships, childhood, or broken trust, that make emotional stability difficult. In those cases, loyalty isn't about willpower. It's about emotional patterns that were never healed. So while cheating or disloyalty is a conscious choice, the reason behind it is often rooted in years of feeling unseen, unworthy, or misunderstood. And when the truth finally comes out, it's rarely black and white. Sometimes it's not that she didn't love her partner, it's that she didn't love who she was becoming inside that relationship. That's why simply labeling women as disloyal misses the bigger picture. The real question isn't why she cheated, but what was she missing before she did? Breaking the myths around female disloyalty. There's this outdated belief that women only cheat when they're emotionally attached to someone else, while men do it purely for physical reasons. But studies showed that's not entirely true. Women cheat for both emotional and physical reasons, just like men, and sometimes it's a mix of both. Another myth says, once she cheats, she'll do it again. But that's also not always the case. Many women who cross that line once never do it again, often because the experience leaves emotional scars they don't want to relive. Regret can be a powerful teacher. And then there's the idea that disloyalty means she never loved her partner. But love isn't always the issue. A person can love deeply and still make choices that go against their values. It's messy, human, and complicated. The real story often lies beneath the surface, buried under years of unmet needs, unspoken feelings, and emotional exhaustion. The social pressure factor. It's also important to talk about how society shapes loyalty. Women are constantly told to be the emotional anchors in relationships, to forgive, to hold families together, to be understanding. But that pressure can backfire. When someone spends years prioritizing others over themselves, they can start craving independence or validation from outside sources. Social media makes it even harder. We live in a time where attention feels like currency. A simple like or compliment online can give a temporary boost that feels like care, even when it's not. It's not about being shallow, it's about being human. We all want to feel wanted. And when that validation is missing at home, the digital world can become dangerously tempting. So when people say, "She just can't stay loyal," they often forget that the world around her is constantly whispering, "You could have more, you could feel more, you deserve more." It's not about excusing her actions. It's about understanding how easily loyalty can be tested in a world that feeds on desire and comparison. What happens after loyalty breaks? When the truth comes out, the emotional impact is massive for everyone involved. Women who cheat are often judged more harshly, not just by their partners, but by friends, family, and society. The guilt can be overwhelming, especially when she realizes the damage it has caused. Some relationships break instantly. Others try to rebuild, but the foundation never feels the same. But however, not all stories end in destruction. Some couples face it, talk through it, and understand the why behind it. Studies have shown that couples who seek therapy after infidelity have a better chance of rebuilding trust. It's not easy. It takes honesty, accountability, and forgiveness. But it's possible, because at its core, loyalty isn't just about not cheating. It's about the willingness to grow and reconnect after mistakes. Changing how we see it. Maybe it's time we change how we talk about loyalty, especially when it comes to women. Instead of just pointing fingers, we should ask better questions. What led her to feel disconnected? What patterns kept repeating in her life? What emotional needs were ignored for too long? Loyalty doesn't break overnight. It fades slowly, in small moments unnoticed. In missed conversations, in nights spent feeling invisible, in arguments that never got resolved. By the time disloyalty happens, the emotional bond may have already been dying. So if we want to understand women who can't stay loyal, we have to stop looking only at the final act and start paying attention to the slow drift that came before it. Because truthfully, most people don't wake up one day and decide to betray someone they love. It happens when they've been hurting in silence for too long. Final thoughts. Understanding before judging. At the end of the day, loyalty isn't about perfection, it's about effort. And not everyone knows how to love in a healthy way, especially if they never learned how to. Women who struggle to stay loyal aren't always villains. Sometimes they're broken hearts trying to find something that feels real. That doesn't make disloyalty okay, it just makes it human. Relationships are complicated, and people even more so. We all want love, trust, and security, but sometimes we don't know how to protect them. The truth about women who can't stay loyal is that they're not always cold or unfaithful by nature. They're often lost, lonely, or emotionally disconnected, trying to fill a gap that's been widening for years. So instead of just labeling or judging, maybe we should start asking what went wrong, what was missing, and what can be learned from it. Because the more we understand the reasons behind disloyalty, the better chance we all have at building relationships that actually last.